An expedition down under the sea to explore, and a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to view and experience the historical wreckage of the Titanic, was too attractive for all those who could afford it, even at the cost of their lives. Titan Submersible of Ocean Gate took 5 people to experience this on 18th June 2023, but it never came back. 4 days later, a robotic diving vehicle deployed from a Canadian ship discovered a debris field from the submersible Titan on the seabed, some 1,600 feet from the bow of the Titanic and 4 kilometers beneath the surface, in a remote corner of the North Atlantic.
Pour plonger sur le Titanic, évidemment, on ne peut pas y aller en plongée normale avec des bouteilles.
You cannot reach Titanic with just diving tanks. We go down there in a small submarine. We stay at the bottom for nearly 8 hours. The ascent lasts about as long. So a dive can last between 10 to 12 hours. During the descent, you talk a lot. You talk about what you're going to do, the objective of the dive. And when we did our first dive to the Titanic, we had a shock when we reached the wreck, because we arrived on the most beautiful part of the wreck, which is the foredeck, where you can see the anchor chains, the winches, which are still polished by the water, and the sediments that the water contains. The winches are made of bronze, so they are shiny. You can distinctly read that they were made in Glasgow. I always remember that because you can see it very well. And so we were quite shocked when we saw this, and for 10 minutes there was silence in the submarine.
On est arrivé sur la plus belle partie de...
Iconic French deep diver PH's love for the deep ocean and Titanic cost him his life in the last expedition of Titan Submersible.
And, to be an explorer, in my opinion, that requires risk, because you're exploring places that maybe have never been seen before. And, there's a reason why they haven't been seen before, because it's risky. And I just, I know that he was always aware of it, in terms of every time he went into any submersible, that there was risk. But I think he was always, comfort in terms of the risk he was taking, because he just loved this, part of his life so much.
Arctic Horizon brought ashore debris from the Titan Submersible. Ten days passed since the submersible descended into the ocean off the Canadian Newfoundland coast. It imploded around 13,000 feet underwater, close to the wreckage of the century-old submerged Titanic. Shattered fragments were pulled up by a crane off the Horizon Arctic vessel and onto a truck. Video from the Canadian Broadcast Corporation showed what appeared to be the nose and other shattered fragments wrapped in white top of the submersible. Presumed human remains of the 5 crew on board were also recovered and brought to shore at the Canadian Coast Guard Pier in St. John's of Newfoundland.
Well, it is a pretty hostile environment. It's 2.5 miles, 3,800 meters below the surface. It's cold. There's zero light after 1,000 meters. And basically you're on your own. So once that cupola, that hatch on the surface closes, you're bolted into the vessel, and it'll be a submersible like we used, or in this case a Titan. You're very much at the risk of nature and your competence of crew and maintenance crew and integrity of the vessel.
The Titan Submersible had 5 people on board. Pakistani origin British tycoon Shahzada Dawood and his son Suleiman. British billionaire and chairman of aviation company Action Aviation Hamish Harding. Former French Navy commander, deep diver and a minesweeper Paul-Henri Gargulet. Paul was also the director of an underwater research company that owns the rights to the Titanic wreck. And last but not the least, Stockton Rush, the founder and CEO of Titan's US-based operating company, Ocean Gate. All 5 of them died when the submersible imploded at an ocean depth of around 13,000 feet.